Do you think it's possible that I could just like use these as a room divider? Or do you think stuff like this always has to be installed like into actual walls? Installed on something like a mobile divider? What kind of mobile divider would work with this? Where are my construction people? Go for a Japanese divider. That I would be able to install these slats on the divider. Install it on something like this. Yeah, this is for downstairs. I don't think I could... I don't even know how those install. Do they nail in? Why are you giving me this dog shit? There's no way this would... this would never support. I don't think those slats... This looks like it would just fall over. And they wouldn't even install evenly. What? Ask this guy for advice.
There's that Feng Shui bad interior design guy.
Did you see that Israel is going unhinged? I mean, there's no restraining force in the US at all. Israel always preferred Trump to Kamala because they know that Trump will never say no to Israel for anything.
This is the only place you can put the bed. And the doors to the bathroom open into the bed.
So here's a room with the bed breaking every single feng shui rule in the book, feet pointing to the door which comes from a long corridor amplifying the energy, head against a window with no support, a huge beam over you to add weight, another beam splitting the couple apart, and huge doors leading to the bathroom giving you wet dreams, and finally an armchair for the ghost to sit and laugh at you while you toss yourself to sleep. This seems impossible, but it's really very simple. Put a large storage dresser table here inside the alcove, which doubles up as a dressing up table with good light from the window above. Bed goes here in the command position, ignoring the wall, with a rug to further anchor the sleeping zone. A final touch is to hang a curtain behind the bed, creating a proper supporting backdrop and evening out that wall, which creates a place to even hide your hats and scarves while you put on your makeup. Suddenly this entire room makes sense and is actually more functional than others and really quite nice. So now you know.
Okay. Here's a wooden divider if that's what you're looking for. No. Okay. I like these dividers because I think they look nice. I wouldn't get it in this color though. There's a browner color. The color looks nice. The build quality looks nice. These are just nice. But, I just need to mount them to something. I don't want like a cheap, plasticky, woody looking thing. Why is Honey going crazy? Okay, never mind. I'll look at this later. You guys, no constructors in here, motherfuckers.
You look good though.
You trying to get me?
Why are you blushing? You blushing. I look good too, man. I like your nose.
My nose?
No.
That's specific.
Look at my nose. You got the same, I think so.
The same? I think it's a little different.
How? You think yours better?
I didn't say that.
You think mine's better? You got them done?
My nose done?
Yeah.
I don't get paid that much money to get my nose done.
I heard you. But yeah, I think we got the same nose.
Go ahead, show your nose.
You don't like it? You don't like my nose?
Where's your girl? No. FaceTime with your girl.
Nah, I hung up to talk to you.
Step up.
What? Okay.
This isn't MAGA policy. This isn't toddler syndrome. This isn't even incompetence. This is too much, too soon, too holistic. This isn't an abdication of American power. This isn't mismanagement. This is a deliberate disassembly of the building blocks of American power and security and safety.
All right, real quick. Somebody mentioned in chat, it is crazy for me that even as a German, you can have trouble traveling into the US. Yeah, there's always the meme that people say of like, well, as long as you're white, you can get in, no problem, ha ha ha. Bro, Going to and from the U.S. is a fucking nightmare sometimes, even if you're European. I don't know why we make it so fucking hard, even legally. Even with an S to visa waiver, it can be so fucking hard to get into this country. It's fucking retarded.
This isn't policy incompetence on the part of the administration. This is something else. Start with Ukraine. The Trump administration immediately suspended effective immediately, all military aid of all types to Ukraine, including anything that was in transit and had already been budgeted, paid for, and palleted and moved. With the equipment that the Ukrainians would have received from the United States, they probably could have kept fighting until midsummer without help. A lot of people say that, oh, all this money has been given, and like there's big truckloads of cash going. It's like, no, I mean, the total value of the stuff is somewhere between 150 and 185 billion. But think of it this way. When you clean out your closet at home to make room for your new stuff after Christmas, and you take it to Goodwill, how much do you say it's worth when you fill out that little form at Goodwill? What it's worth when you bought it. And what the military has done is basically gone through their old stores of things they haven't used literally in decades, reported them for the cost that it took to build them, and then adjusted for inflation. And for about 70% of the total number, that is the donation. And so you're talking about old equipment we weren't using that was marked at a value that's probably higher than it ever was worth. Of the rest, 10 to 15% is ammo and more legitimate equipment, legitimate as in current, and then the rest is cash. So really you're talking about a total value given that's well under 40 billion, chump change. So for having the Ukrainians basically take our hand-me-downs and fight the Russians to a standstill, that's a national security win and an economic win by any possible measure. The Trump administration, not casually, but actively, deliberately breaking relations with all of our closest allies.
Wait. Factorio question. Is there a way to get these to turn on only when the energy in my accumulators is below a certain threshold? Like, is there some circuit condition I can set up for that, or is that impossible? Or do I have to have more research to do that? If you can't wire it, then no. Can I wire power poles? Oh my god. Can I set circuit conditions on the power poles? Oh no. Fuck, well. Wait. Oh my god. Okay.
To including the United Kingdom. Now, regular calls throughout Congress, not just for this or that NATO leader to resign, or Zelensky of Ukraine, of course, but actually withdraw the United States from NATO all completely. The second big one that happened today is the imposition of a 25% tariff on everything coming from Mexico and Canada. Mexico and Canada are number one and number two trading partners. And everything that we do in the world of manufacturing is integrated with them across borders. Well, it's a lot warmer out here than I thought it was. By doing a blanket tariff, what that's basically done is made most American manufacturing non-viable almost overnight. And what Trump did by...
Wait, shut up, Peter. Wait, can I set certain conditions based on the amount of stored electricity or electricity available on a network? Is that possible or no? Fuck, I don't remember anything. I don't remember any circuit things in this game. What the fuck? Output. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, we can. Easy.
Threatening the tariffs a couple months ago and now implementing them today is, even before today, new investment into the United States, into North America, had frozen completely because no one knew what the situation was going to be. He introduced what we like to call regulatory uncertainty into the situation. And now that the tariffs are in place and people know what the math is, no one's going to come here. He said he's going to put a 40% tariffs on all agricultural imports. Now,
okay, this is bullshit, all right? I am getting kind of sick of this, all right? Listen, I understand that Peter's a fan of my stream, but you can't just shamelessly rip all of my takes and then present them as your own without at least giving me credit, okay? What the fuck?
the United States is a large country. that grows a lot of its own food. We're the world's largest agricultural exporter, and we have a variety of climate zones, but we don't have all of them. And so if you go into any supermarket, especially if you're looking at things like fish, fruits, or vegetables, a huge proportion of those in any given season is coming from a different country. We already have a food inflation problem here, and now we're going to have a significantly larger one. Those tariffs are supposed to kick in April, and Trump has said farmers start producing, but the farmers can't produce most of the stuff that we import because it swims in a different sea, comes from a different climate zone, or relevant to this moment in March, looking around me at the snow, you're not going to grow a lot of food in Colorado right now, so it has to be brought in from somewhere else. Let's talk about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. The total value of everything that Musk has rooted out of the federal bureaucracy that supposedly was all fat, you know.
What are you trying to do? Well, look, okay, I got solar panels. I don't have a book yet for an efficient setup because I don't have the big power station research yet. But what I want is, I don't want to turn these steam engines on until my accumulators are empty. I'm guessing this output signal, it's A, and then the 100 is just at 100%. So when it drops below 2%, then I'll turn my pump on, and then my steam engines will fire up. Okay.
We're only like $30 billion for all the disruption out of a $7 trillion budget. That's so small it should just not be worth my time to even look at. Or
this guy sounds like he's got Trump derangement syndrome.
Right now, it's only about 1% of the federal workforce, and you would have to purge about 20 to 25% of the federal workforce just to knock 1% off of the budget. But what it's done is it's stripped out the internal system that the U.S. government used to prevent foreign influence from penetrating. There's nothing about that matches with MAGA goals. For something that's near and dear to my heart, the Forest Service, you know, staffing all the national parks, that surges in the summer, firefighters, those people have all been let go. So when we get to summer driving season this time, in a couple months, a lot of the national parks probably aren't going to be able to open. And if we have forest fires this year, fuck, that's going to...
Zeihan is pretty linked to the Rogan sphere. Do you think this kind of anti-Trump thinking will ever make its way there? In my mind, I feel like Peter Zeihan was like a bridge from Rogan to retarded shit. For a lot of people, actually. I don't think I've ever disagreed with anything that he said. Like, I don't think he's stupid at all. The only thing I felt is I feel like just a teensy weensy, and honestly, I don't even know if it's fair to ascribe this to him, is that he was like the population aging demographics guy. And I don't know if he overplayed that or if just that's the only thing people took from what he said. But man, I feel like every video I saw was about the population demographics. This is what's going to happen, the population demographics, and that's it. But like, he's never said anything wrong or stupid. Like, I've never heard him speaking before. And he's like, oh my God, how could he fucking be that dumb? Like, I've never had that impression of him before. I just felt like sometimes the population stuff was a lot. But then again, it might just be that that's just what people listen to the most, because it's nice when you get like a simple answer to explain a whole bunch of stuff about a society.
It'd be awful. Fighting forest fires without forest fighters? Or in the food...
I need a debate settled. I'm arguing with a retard that touchless automatic car washes are based because I don't have to do anything. He's saying it'll ruin the finish on your car. Who's right? I don't think it'll ever ruin the finish on your car. But if you want to get like a super... if you want your car to be like as clean as possible, or if you want to like polish it or whatever, then you probably have to do that yourself. But it's probably fine.
Go. So when we get to summer driving season this time, in a couple months, a lot of the national parks probably aren't going to be able to open. And if we have forest fires this year, fuck, that's going to be awful. Fighting forest fires without forest fighters? Or in the food supply system, you know.
Wait, what was that noise? Is there a person?
Forest fires without forest fighters? Or in the food supply system.
Who's talking?
Forest fires without forest fighters? Or in the food supply system, you know. People who are...
Oh, also, real quick, there's some fucking retard in chat that always trolls about like, oh, what microphone is he because you're a cam or whatever, you think you're funny. But for this guy and the guy that I was walking to that was talking, because a lot of people were saying, oh, he's walking and talking, why does his microphone sound so good? I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but the built-in microphones on phones are pretty good. The ones on your AirPods are dog shit. Now, the size of the AirPod is going to determine that a lot, and the placement, because they've got to try to pick up audio from being like fucking inside your ear and shit. But if you're ever talking to somebody on the phone and they're having trouble hearing you or whatever, and you're fucking with your AirPods or whatever, just using the microphone on the phone will sound a million times better than whatever wireless Bluetooth stuck in your ear thing you're using.
USDA, Department of Agriculture, they don't tolerate a lot of bullshit because they know if they screw up, people die like by the tens of thousands. We're no longer testing food safety because those are temporary jobs. And so we no longer have an eye on the bird flu epidemic because we're not able to collect the information that we need. With all the firings, with everything that DOGE has done, the U.S. budget expenditures have gone up compared to the Biden administration.
Somebody said in DGG chat that his Patreon is like full of a bunch of people just screaming TDS at him. Is that true? If so, that's so sad.
We've got lists of government assets around the world, some open, some covert, that have just been released to the public. Stuff like this is, if it gets in the...
Also, snow is a good sound canceller. Oh, that's actually super true. One thing that we don't think about a lot, our ears are really good. A lot of the human senses are pretty good. Well, I mean, compared to what, I guess. But our senses are pretty good at figuring things out or hearing differences in things. There is a sound, if you've ever lived in a snowy area before, there is a, I don't want to say an eerie quiet, because it's not usually eerie, but if you step outside after a first snow, there's a much more muted, quiet sound from the neighborhood or from outside than what you're normally used to hearing, yeah.
In the hands of other states, that's like the 5-year effort of espionage, and it was just handed out. That doesn't serve anyone's agenda in the United States. What else? I gotta look at my list. I've got a long one.
I always feel kind of bad for people like this that, I don't know, like I said, I want to be really careful because I don't think he's done anything stupid or wrong or been like a Trump sycophant or anything like that, so I don't want to give that impression. But I wonder if he was ever like enamored with the attention he was getting from like the pro-Trump crowd. And then now he's like, wait a second, why do these guys all fucking hate me? Like, I thought you guys liked me because you thought I was giving like good takes on everything. And it's like, they were just deranged Trump people who liked simple answers for complex problems. And now that you're giving an answer that's not in line with the Trump agenda, they fucking hate you. But I don't know.
All right, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has stopped investigating terrorism in order to focus on illegal migrants. What? Department of Health and Human Services isn't even holding the meetings that are necessary to start the process for selecting the next flu vaccine, which has the medical community freaking out because they rely on these private groups to, at no compensation to themselves, advise the government as to what type of vaccine is going to be needed based on the flu strains that are circulating. And since HHS also cut connections with the World Health Organization, we're just kind of guessing at what's out there and literally relying upon the kindness of strangers to tell us what we need to get ready for. All right, USAID, that's the Agency for International Development. It's gotten a lot of crap for doing some strange things, that's fair. But if you're not going to invade or occupy a country, USAID is the primary method that the United States...
Okay, why can't... This is what I don't understand. I wish, okay? Listen to what he just did, okay? He said, USAID has gotten some crap for doing some strange shit. That's fair. But this is an important organization, right? Why can't people criticize a thing without having to completely and utterly fucking destroy that thing? Why can't people just be like, ooh, yeah, I don't know, probably don't want to do that. Okay, yeah, let's change that. Okay. And then that's it. It's okay. Like, fuck.
Who uses to influence countries around the world. You can call it whatever you want. The bottom line is when it's not present, the Iranians, the Chinese, and the Russians absolutely dominate the space because they will step in with relief support that is...
Even Hezbollah was doing that. I think Lonerbox has talked about that probably more than I have in terms of like providing relief or support for citizens. Because you know that, like, well, fuck the mafia. The mob, like, would do shit like this, right? Like, giving shit out to people for free or, taking care of some kind of, like, basic need or services, if they're not being provided for. Because you have to do PR for yourself. Like, it's important. Everybody knows this. Well, used to know this.
Loaded with intelligence operations, and all of a sudden they've gone from meeting USAID head-to-head to having a completely open operating environment. And so, of course, the Iranians and the Russians sent a joint letter to the Trump administration thanking them for making life so much easier for them. Or in the Defense Department, we canceled all operations against Russian cyber activity. That includes defensive operations on our part, as well as offensive operations to disrupt their ability to hack the United States. The Russians maintain a very active cyber presence. They're not just hacking our elections and our media and our power grid and our water and our food supply and the stock market. They're going after you specifically because part of the Putin alliance that rules Russia includes organized crime out of St. Petersburg.
I feel like Destiny doesn't watch much Zeihan outside of seeming to know about the Rogan interview, or he only hears about Zeihan from maggots. That is correct. That's why I've said that literally 15 times. Yes, correct.
And our water and our food supply in the stock market, they're going after you specifically because part of the Putin alliance that rules Russia includes organized crime out of St. Petersburg. And so most of those cyber things are linked to Russia in one way or another. And we have basically decided just to lay back, open our legs, and let whatever happens, happens. This isn't anything that I would think that any American would ever want, much less orchestrate, which has pushed me into the realm of some conspiracy theories. I think we now need to consider that the Russians really have penetrated the White House. And while I think it's a stretch to say this is like a Manchurian candidate sort of situation, there are too many things happening that seem too tailored to hobble American capacity long run. And everything that was on this list is something that the Russians have tried before.
Like, the good question is, again, that I think is interesting to consider is, if Russia could dictate U.S. policy to the U.S., right? If they could dictate our own policy to us, what would they do? Or what would they do differently than right now, you know? And that can be kind of hard to answer sometimes, you know? Like, there are, coming into this presidency, Jesus Christ, the 6 or 7 weeks it's been, coming into the presidency, you would imagine that if a binder was handed to Putin and this was the plan, he would say, okay, Dmitry, I like what I see here. It's ambitious, okay? But this is way too much at the same time, all right? Now, abandoning Ukraine, that's obviously based and awesome. Okay, I love that. But attacking Canada and Mexico at the same time with tariffs, like, maybe we should make a little bit of space, or we can just do like Ukraine and the European Union at the same time, but then wait, like maybe to year 2 to go after like Mexico and Canada. Like, I don't know if doing all of these at the same time, it seems like it's kind of like over the top. It seems like it's like pretty obvious, you know? Threats to invade Greenland? Well, that's just, come on, that's like wacky. That's kind of off the table. We don't have to talk about Greenland and Panama? No, okay. Maybe if Trump gets a third term, we can talk about that. But he's like, no. Dimitri's like, sir, we can do all of this in 6 weeks. All of it? Threaten to attack Panama and Greenland and start a trade war with Mexico, Canada, and the European Union, and abandon Ukraine at the same time, and signal to the rest of the friendly world how much you hate them by making sure that the tariffs on them are higher than the tariffs on China, the country that you've said is your like mortal enemy for 8 years. I don't know, man. That's just so much. That's just so much in 6 weeks. I don't know, man. That's a lot. That's a lot to do in 6 weeks, you know?
NATO is something they've been trying to destroy since the 50s. And now we
NATO.
have a possibility of the U.S. just walking away. The military has been the bulwark of global security. And so gutting it from the inside is something they would love to see. Our intel system has been the canary in the coal mine. And it appears that Trump is either not receiving or not reading the daily brief that the agency produces for him.
Okay, never mind. Maybe Peter is actually dumber than I thought, okay? Because even for a microsecond, assuming that Trump would ever read the daily briefings is fucking hilarious. There is zero chance. I'm sure he's assigned a person to him, and he's probably told that person, listen, I want you to read me off whatever is electorally important or could lose me an election or whatever. Other than that, I don't give a fuck. Boom. That's it.
Every day. The food supply situation in the United States has long been the world's safest, and now we're not even testing to maintain it? The demographic of Russia is one of the main reasons why the Russians are facing such a bleak long-term future. But if you interfere with the vaccine schedule in the United States, you can start increasing the death rate in Americans, not just under 20, but under 5. and start to equalize that situation.
Now, that is something I'm actually a little bit more okay with. I have no problem with some of the more aggressive anti-vax stuff. The COVID anti-vax stuff was annoying. More aggressive anti-vax stuff I think is okay-ish, because now we can finally get some natural selection at play and start weeding out the mentally retarded from our population. If you want to vaccinate your kids against like the basic shit, then God bless, okay? Just like the Trump coin stuff. Like, I'm better with the Trump coin stuff than I am with the tariffs. If you want to be a dipshit and get scammed by a dear leader, then that's on you. It's just you on your own. Go get scammed. That's fine. You're not taking the rest of us with you, you know?
This is some heavy stuff. And what we're going to be doing in the next few videos are exploring all of this from the Russian point of view. How they...
Where is he right now? Like, is he like in fucking Switzerland or some shit? Or where is he skiing or snowboarding all the time or walking?
See the world, how they influence the world, and given the chance, how they would redirect American policy to serve their interests. I would love to say this is hypothetical, but I've already got a dozen examples in addition to the ones I just shared with you about how that is already happening. So buckle up, because for the first time since I started doing this 25 years ago, I'm actually worried for the United States. We'll talk about that too.
The main problem, though, is that it also takes out the non-retarded who are immunocompromised. Well, sucks for them. It's more natural selection at work. Understanding how Putin operates in democracies he ends up destroying or helping to destroy it makes it much clearer as well. Places like Venezuela, Hungary, Georgia, Poland, etc. haven't had the influence America has. So Putin having America as a place to funnel anti-democratic influence worldwide is a new tool for him. Yeah, sure, that's true. One thing I didn't consider about anti-communist stuff, I don't know why, I just don't, because I'm an American, it's my perspective, I guess. And reading the Rise of the Third Reich book is... I didn't consider how scared, when people talk about how, oh, the reason why the liberals sided with the fascists, which I don't think actually happened, but we're not that far into the book yet, is because they were so scared of like labor and power. I didn't consider that, I'm pretty sure the Bolshevik Revolution in the Russian Empire under Lenin, that was like a pretty bloody, violent ordeal, yeah? And I can see neighboring countries being a bit paranoid of that same type of shit kind of like taking over their country, not necessarily just as like a defense of capital interests, like, oh no, capitalism and our profits, but more in like a, fuck, I don't want our country to go to fucking in sicko mode, you know? I guess I didn't really consider the proximity, I mean, literally for Germany, Prussia, whatever, because they were right fucking there, you know? You heard about yesterday, the Stock Times got the Free Corps to kill the commies in Munich. Yeah, well, I mean later on, because people say that liberals are the ones that basically had Hitler in power or whatever. But we'll get further along there. But yeah, the whole Munich, Bavaria shit. I also didn't really know anything about like the different provinces or I guess cultures, I guess, in Germany too. It's all just like big European countries to me, but. It's a Stalinist talking point to confuse liberals with fascists because Stalin saw them all as evil capitalists. Sure, maybe. I don't know what how ideologically committed those guys were to any Marxist stuff, though. I just don't have the background to say. It's also one of the rationales for being against freeing slaves in the antebellum South after the Haitian Revolution / genocide of French. They went full sicko mode. Sure. Lenin, yes. Stalin, not at all. Yeah, my super vibes take, when I say vibes, just like a little bit, my understanding is that Lenin was like pretty ideologically driven in terms of like possessed as some proletariat uprising bullshit or whatever. But Stalin not as much. He was more just like, oh, I can have all this power. But again, anything I've read about the Russian history is super, super, super light on fact. I've not read much at all on that, so. Oh, look, this did happen, because there is a video of it. Good job. From my experience in Europe, I can tell you that Russia only wants chaos. They will never tell you go full dictatorship or not. They want to basically say, hey, liberals, your system isn't working. Now, I'm not telling you to do like us, but yours isn't working, wink, wink. Yeah, the thing that I've read is that Putin doesn't give a fuck about necessarily taking over countries, but like one of the biggest threats to a regime like Putin's is to have thriving liberal democracies on his borders. Because what it demonstrates to the people of Russia is theoretically, we could look like that. Or if this is a functional system that's doing better for these people, that this is something that maybe we should aspire to a little bit more. But I don't know I hate talking about anything now, actually. Fuck. After post 5 minutes. I don't like talking about anything unless I've read a ton about it, because these are very surface level takes, and I could be completely wrong on that, but that's just the vibe. I'm telling you, I'm vibing it out. That's my vibe feeling. I don't know how true that is or not true that is. I will say that one thing that I said, though, that ended up being completely right. I have like vibes. I've got intuitions. Fuck off with this vibes word. I have intuitions that I developed after reading the Israeli-Palestinian history that I think are a lot better historically than before. And that one intuition I have now is there are no historical events that happen because of one massive thing. And I actually think it's probably not even good to learn history that way. So I think one thing I said several months ago was like, I doubt World War I started just because Franz Ferdinand got assassinated. That's probably not the case. There's probably a lot of other stuff going on. And I think that is true for basically every single major historical event. I'm generalizing a bit, like I said, it's intuition, but generally there's not just like one thing that happens, but there's this whole bubbling pretext of stuff that's creating the conditions necessary for things to happen. And then there will be inevitably some inciting moment, and then people will look to that inciting moment and say, oh, look, it's because this guy got assassinated. That's why World War I started. Say, well, there is a world where a person like that could get assassinated, and no World War I happens. But with all the discontent, with all the other stuff, with all the economic chaos, with all the competing pan interests from all the other people, like anything was going to eventually tip this off. For Israel-Palestine, a really common talking point is that the Second Intifada was started when Ariel Sharon set foot onto the Temple Mount. People were like, that was it. Like, once he did that, oh my God, there goes the Second Intifada. It's like, no. It was the failure of the Oslo Accords to actually resolve itself to that final round of negotiations where all of the territory would be handed over to the Palestinian Authority and there'd be like some final agreement. It was the perpetual stalling of that, Oslo II into whatever, and nothing came of it, and people were getting unhappy because there was nothing happening. And then Ariel Sharon did the Temple Mount thing, partially as a show of strength, partially as a whatever, and that was like the inciting moment. But it's not like, oh my God, he did that and that's what caused everything. No, it's like a whole bunch of other shit that's happening, and then you're just looking for that, would you say tinderbox moment or whatever? Yeah. Agree with you on this. Does the same apply for Iraq War and 9/11? I mean, 9/11 has, there's a history of like where, like the radicalization of Osama bin Laden and where the Taliban came from and all of that bullshit, or Al-Qaeda, I should say. But I still don't know why the United States did the Iraq War. I can't tell you that at all. Maybe at some point I'll study that, read into that. I don't understand. I don't know. I understand Afghanistan. I don't understand Iraq. I don't. That's why they called the Balkans the powder keg of Europe. Franz Ferdinand's assassination was the spark that lit it, but in truth, any other event could have made it blow up. Not to be mean, but like, weren't we all taught the tinderbox thing in like 10th grade? Maybe you were. If you were, good for you. But I feel like I've learned history through these events that were just astounding events that just happened, and then they changed the course of history forever. And it's like, kind of, but history was already kind of sort of headed in that direction. One thing that's a little disappointing to me that I haven't brought up before, that actually really bothers me, is I actually think that America has a history of isolationism during World War I and World War II. But I have to read more about this. But if you think about it, unfortunately, I don't think America became involved in World War I or II until we were directly attacked. We had to have somebody blow our shit up for us to finally give a fuck about it, which I think is actually a little bit morally disappointing. So as much as I like to say, like, and I will use this against, you know, the nationalists or the MAGAs or whatever, like, don't you want it to be like America? You know, like, we saved the world. Aren't these good stories? Isn't this a good thing America could do? Like, it took the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor. It took, was it, what was it? In World War I, didn't we have, like, some boats get sunk by, like, German subs or some bullshit? What was it? There was a famous event here, wasn't it? The Lusitania. Damn, why do they attack us? How dumb. But like, I also don't have the full context for that, because like I've given that criticism for World War II for Pearl Harbor. Like, why did it take us getting attacked for us to do anything? And I think I had a history guy email me once, and it's like, the reason why Japan attacked us in Pearl Harbor is because they knew it was probably inevitable that America would become involved. America had already become involved politically in terms of how we were doling out resources to the Soviets and everything. So maybe that's the case. Maybe America would have eventually become involved. But then I've also heard that the domestic situation in the United States was pushing heavily isolationist as well, that people didn't want to get involved. And yeah, I don't know. Are us Jews fucked when it comes down to Jew hatred? It seems it's getting worse and worse, or is it just an overreaction? I don't know. It's probably getting worse, but you guys got to stay strong, okay? Because if you guys all die, we're just going to hate each other. So I don't want people coming after us next. So you just got to take the brunt of it. Destiny, do you agree with JJ's take that you need to have a base of facts before you can start doing the analysis you're talking about? So drilling facts is super important. Yeah, I've given that take before. Yeah. When people ask me, how can you sniff out bullshit, or how can you tell when someone's full of shit or not? I think I've said this over and over again. Unfortunately, there's just no shortcut for having, I call it like a working vocabulary, but there's just having some working knowledge of a particular thing. Because as soon as you have working knowledge of a particular thing, now you can immediately tell that guy's full of shit. This guy's fucking retarded. This guy seems like he's onto something. This guy seems really smart. But if you don't have that base of facts, it's very, very, very easy to be misled on stuff. Dave Smith is pretty good at this. Dave Smith probably knows more discrete facts about Israel-Palestine than any other person I've heard debate the topic before. So I can understand why people that don't know anything about it are enamored by him. But his contextualization of all those facts is very, 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 very bad. And the Ian Carroll guy that we listened to yesterday even had, I would say, maybe better contextualization of those facts. Although he didn't do much Israel-Palestinian history. Around 48, he was good. Later on, it got a little goofy. But yeah, I don't know if there's a shortcut for just knowing the factual statements, which is one of the things that frustrates me because, like I said, ironically, it was when I started doing Vance and started reading more. That was the first time in my life I felt time restricted on like learning stuff. Whereas before, I would have been more confident, like, oh, I could probably learn anything I need for any topic. But now I'm like, fuck, like you really have to pick and choose. You only have so much life to live that you can't dive deep enough into every topic to have good enough knowledge to kind of like fight all the bullshit in every arena. You can for online conspiracy theories, but not for like a well-studied area. But Robot Chicken did a skit of America's involvement during World War II in a grade school classroom. Oh, I think somebody just linked me this. Wait, hold on.
My teacher?
Yes, Lil Hitler?
My desk is small. I need this Polish boy's desk also.
Everyone gets the same size desk, Lil Hitler.
Little Hitler, such a scam!
Now, class.
My teacher? I will need the Czechoslovakian boy's desk as well.
Lil Hitler, where's Lil Pulaski?
Little Hitler, always having fun!
What's going on here?
It's not my problem. Now, it's my problem.
Little Hitler,
Okay. Dave Smith is closeted. What's wrong with him? I have the same thing that I like get so fucking paranoid about. Holy shit. One thing that's very scary is remember, right? Human brains, pattern recognition, these are things that we do kind of naturally. One thing that's really, really, really scary is when you start to learn about a particular topic, if a narrative starts to get set in your head about that topic, any further reading that you do can be super poisoned by the narrative that you establish early on. Such that, like, if you were to tell people a story about a conflict between two sides, it wouldn't surprise me. Fuck, I wonder if there's been a psychic experiment on this. This would be really interesting. If you told a story about a conflict between two sides, and this conflict had 5 just demonstrably bad events of similar magnitude on both sides, I bet that if you learned one side, the first event, first, that you would be more likely to side with the other one just because of what you learn first and the narrative starts to get set in your head, right? So if you learn this one first, this happens actually a lot with Israel-Palestine, like, okay, what was the very first bad event? The first bad event was the Nakba. Well, if you start with the Nakba, then the war from all the other Arab states in 48, that kind of makes sense. I get why they were fighting against Israel. And then in 67, Israel attacking everybody else first because they were mad that the Palestinians were fighting for their land. Yeah, I get why all the Arab states were mad. And then in 73, Yom Kippur, all the other Arab states trying to get like vengeance after Israel stole territory in 67. Yeah, I get it, right? Every event in your mind has become set in a certain way. And now even when you collect new future facts, it's just reinforcing that narrative that you developed really early on. Or on the flip side, you could say, oh, Palestinians were enacting violence against Jews for no reason in the early 1900s, 1920s. You have these massacres and stuff, and then the Holocaust happens. Okay, well, it makes sense why Israel would fight for independence in 47 and 48. All the Arab states are still threatening to destroy Israel after they just managed to barely survive the 48 war? Yeah, it makes sense why Israel would fight in 67, of course. The Arab states are so mad that even with overwhelming force, they lost, and so in 78 they come back in? Yeah, it makes sense, right? That's one of the things I don't know if this has happened to Dave Smith or not. I also can't tell because some people might just be bad faith or might be grifting for money. I don't know. I just don't have a mind for that at all. So it's hard to know if people are doing that. It's always a thing that's very scary to me is that, like, if I develop kind of a story or a narrative early on, am I going to start to selectively collect facts going down the road to like reinforce that opinion? That's something I'm always paranoid about. But I try to like challenge myself as I'm reading more to see if I'm like being honest on the other end. So like going through like the Hitler book, I have a vested interest in defending the idea that liberals are the ones that fought against the Nazis and not the commies. That's the thing that I have a vested interest in. I have an ideological interest in it and an ego interest in it. But as I'm reading, I'm trying to like keep in mind like, okay, well, are there things that are pushing back against that narrative? And you do see so far, so I'm trying to keep tabs on facts that the Social Democrats and liberals actually did have a vested interest in seeing a lot of the communists like defeated. They were legitimately, or maybe not legitimately, but they were afraid of the Bolshevik Revolution that happened in Russia, and they didn't want to see that sweep through Germany. And they did, like in Munich, the liberals did work with people like the Free Corps and shit to crush the communist resistance, right? And Social Democrat, at least in early Germany, Social Democrat did actually mean people that were like socialist oriented. It wasn't just liberals, Now, I don't know if that's going to be the same as we get through the 30s because we haven't gotten quite there yet. But so I do try to keep track of these things so that I don't get like set in a narrative and then every fact I collect just has to reinforce that because it's very, 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 that's so spooky to me, I guess, Hey, Destiny, what were your thoughts on Amaranth's Fresh and Fit podcast recently? I was surprised how much she agreed with them. I don't know. I haven't seen it all, so. What do you tell your doctor to get Vyvanse? It was really easy for me. I went in and I just said that if you don't prescribe me Vyvanse, because I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, because I self-diagnosed by reading a bunch of internet forums, that I'm going to kill myself. And if you Bradiac me, as soon as I get out, I'm going to kill myself. And that death is going to be on you. And they were like, fuck. Art of the deal. True. Don't do that, actually. I'm just kidding. But I think there's like personality traits and there are things that make people predisposed towards one things versus other things. There's this thing called, I don't believe in fucking pathologizing every single human like trait. But if you wanted to, I think Kyla introduced this term to me. this like oppositional defiance disorder or whatever. You can call it the contrarian disease. I don't really enjoy being surrounded by a bunch of people that agree with me. It's just, it like emotionally, forget intellectually, just emotionally, it's not a very fulfilling experience. I don't like being in a circle of people where it's like, oh yeah, we all agree on the same thing. Okay. I'd much rather be in a room with everybody disagreeing with me. That's just it's a more emotionally entertaining experience for me, or fulfilling experience. And then intellectually, it's more fun as well. But I'm just like drawn towards that style of thing more. Like the idea of doing a turning point event where everybody's there kind of cheering for me, like makes me cringe. Even giving speeches at my own events, like makes me cringe a little bit. Not that you guys are cringing. I don't know. I would much rather be fighting a group of people than agreeing with a group of people. Obviously, you have to be careful that that doesn't melt your mind into just disagreeing with everybody for the sake of disagreeing, which I don't think I do. I would just avoid those environments. But Destiny, do you love one of your chats more than the other? Is YouTube chat your favorite? My favorite is Kick Chat, kick.com/Destiny. At Destiny, unrelated, but why do you think the average economist leans more libertarian than the average person? Why do they prioritize economic growth and free market actors over social programs? I think libertarians are looking at numbers more, and they can emotionally, or they kind of like separate emotionally how they feel about policies versus just like what would be better on paper. And there are probably times when things that are better on paper work worse policy-wise just because of how they make people feel. I don't know if that makes any sense. So like means testing college, means testing like tuition reimbursement or college loans or subsidized loans or federal student aid, means testing that might not be as good as just giving everybody free college and then raising all the tax rates. I talked about this on my last show with it was a famous Twitter socialist guy on. Somebody tell me on Bridges or whatever, I talked to this guy. And that's probably true on paper, that if you were to just raise the tax rates of everybody a little bit and then give everybody free college, it actually is more efficient than trying to means test everything. But means testing might be an easier policy to sell because people like the idea of poorer people getting something and not the idea of rich people getting something for free. Matt Bruneck, yes. So yeah, economists probably, there's a lot of policies that if the government were to get out a little bit, eventually the market would correct and the market would probably work better, but people would just see wealthy people winning and they wouldn't necessarily see the benefits to poor people as much. And then, so then like a citizen would lean less in the favor of a policy that an economist might prefer. Rent control is a really good example of that. I think rent control is just a universally shit on policy. But if you look at who's hurt by rent control hurts the most people that can't afford to move to the place. So the damage is invisible. Rent control helps the most people who already have a place to live. And those people are very visible. So if you look at rent control and you go to a city and you ask, hey, how do you feel about rent control? People are like, I love it. It's great. And you ask an economist, you're like, well, no, but look at all these other people who are hurt. And people are like, I don't know. I can't see those people. Fuck them, So that's like, it's just a difference in perspective. Do you think so many people adopted the master plan / ethnic cleansing explanation for the Nakba because Israel concealed and denied any wrongdoing for so long? No. Because that same thought is not applied to any of the surrounding Arab states. But it's, yeah, no, that's a whole last thing. If you have any concerns about your body adapting to Vyvanse and the highest prescriptable dosage not working, my doctor just recently upped my dose. No, I read on the Scott Alexander that like 50% of people never need a dose increase. I don't know. I've been on 60 milligrams, I guess, for over a year now. I've never felt the need to increase it at all. This is why people have to show people the harm it's doing, because unless they see it, they won't care. Yeah, that's why I've said for Trump, like a lot of the MAGA stuff won't become unpopular until like actual harm is demonstrated. Any thoughts on Hassan being on the Theo Von's podcast? Not really. I've tried to watch it. It was just really, really, really boring. Are you paying attention to what's going on in Syria with the Alawites? No, I've seen a couple of headlines, but I haven't dug into that at all, so. Yeah, we'll probably watch the Sam Cedar thing later. Elon Musk responded to Polish Foreign Minister Sikorski regarding Starlink. I literally challenged Putin to one-on-one physical combat over Ukraine, and my Starlink system is the backbone of the Ukrainian army. Their entire front line collapsed, so I turned it off. God, he's so fucking cringe. He's such a weak, spineless fucking loser. Starlinks for Ukraine are paid for by the Polish Digitization Ministry at the cost of about $50 million per year. The ethics of threatening the victim of aggression apart, if SpaceX proves to be an unreliable provider, we'll be forced to look for other suppliers. Be quiet, small man. You pay a tiny fraction of the cost, and there is no substitute for Starlink. Okay. Okay, buddy. Destiny, I feel like so worried now with propaganda and like media bubbles that I'm watching too much of you and not of other people. But do you know any good people to watch? I don't want to just watch you. Just watch me, buddy. And make sure you like and subscribe. Those people at the Bulwark seem pretty good. Oh, I should add them to the media list. I have an approved media list, okay? For DGG or re-education. Damn, bro, we have troubles with everybody. Israel, Russia, Canada. What the fuck? Let's see. What did I stick this under? Recommended news sources. David Pakman, he's still good. Destiny, obviously. Econoboy, I sometimes disagree with some of the things he says, but he's never like completely wrong or retarded on anything. Legal is generally pretty good. Lonerbox, I haven't seen get anything wrong. Josiah, I think is pretty good. This Potholer guy is pretty good. Hank and John Green, the Vlog Brothers, are good. And you know what? We're adding. Kara Swisher. Now, Scott Galloway is scary to me because I feel like EFGHJKL. Scott Galloway gave that one TED talk. I don't know how I feel about it. But for the most part, everything, I'm so happy I discovered their fucking channel. Does Kara Swisher do her own thing, or is she always just on like, is it the Bulwark? James O'Brien, I love you guys so much. Unfortunately, I think there are some people that I had to terminate from the list on like some foreign policy shit, and I think James O'Brien was a little bit unhinged on. It might have been Israel-Palestine. It's too much. He's a little bit. I think James O'Brien is okay. He's not the worst, but he's a little bit too ideologically to the left, I think, for me to comfortably or safely recommend. Too much of that like billionaires evil, America evil, foreign policy-wise sometimes. But he's definitely not. He's not even close to the worst. Like I think James O'Brien for the most part is pretty good. I wouldn't put him on like a recommendation list. I'm just gonna add the Bulwark here. Fuck it. I shouldn't call them YouTubers. I guess I don't know. Also, it should be by last name. Huh? Oh, true, actually. I don't think I've heard Brian Tyler Cohen fuck anything up. Ever. Is Ezra Klein too far left on stuff? No, but I don't know how much like factual matter material Ezra Klein covers. He's like a bit more abstract. So I don't know if I would recommend him in terms of like news-ish factual stuff. He seems to be more kind of like abstract analysis. This isn't bad at all. I'm not sure if I would put him on a thing like this, but okay, there you go. You can have that for now.
One of the best things.
We'll watch this guy later. I can't tell if I hate or love John Fetterman. Very love-hate relationship with him. Oh, this was the exchange that JD Vance was talking about. It did happen because they did record it. There we go.
With respect, ma'am, I disagree. I think what we're doing is we're actually forcing a diplomatic settlement. That if you talk to Joe Biden,
Philip DeFranco is lefty coded. Philip is he's just like a kind of like a news summary guy. I wouldn't recommend watching him. It's just like here's like kind of the news with not much analysis. I think not that there's anything wrong or bad about that. It's just not that type of person.
Do you think Russia can be diplomatic?
And this is about a separate country, and I don't think our investment in that country can go on indefinitely. I understand the disagree. You're forcing to settle. We're forcing both the Russians and the Ukrainians.
Russia won't settle.
Exactly. They certainly invaded Ukraine in 2022. But there needs to be a settlement. Ma'am,
They are the aggressor every time.
ma'am, I understand that that's your view, and certainly they have, and certainly
That's your view?
I have condemned, ma'am, please, you're interrupting. I'm speaking with you and I'm trying to be respectful. I have condemned the invasion, but I've also condemned the perpetual. That is
I condemn the invasion, but I also condemn the what?
respectful. I have condemned the invasion, but I've also condemned the perpetual. That is
I can't tell what he's saying, but I also condemn the perpetual war.
policy administration. And I've talked to you guys now for about 5 minutes. And what I ma'am, now that's a different question. I'm happy. Would you like me to talk about how I've changed my view on Donald Trump from 10 years ago? Because I talked about it a lot during the campaign, and then the American people voted and made me the president of the United States.
You've got no integrity. Have integrity in our leaders. Called not having any integrity. But I expect my
It must be
kids.
nice to go through life and see that everybody who disagrees with you has no integrity. I have more respect for you. But ma'am, look at my 3-year-old daughter now, and I told you, I talked to you for 5 minutes, and now...
The anchoring fallacy is what you were looking for earlier, with the one side of a conflict having a bias if you hear about the problems first. Oh, okay, that sounds right.
Yeah,
Can you see my super chat?
I did not agree to have my 3-year-old to have...
Do you think there's any policy conservatives push for domestically that is as stupid as private school vouchers? I can't believe that I didn't realize how fucked the voucher thing was. Did I never know this, or did I just never read into this? I just assumed that vouchers allowed you to, I guess, send your kid to a private school or something? Or I didn't think of them as taking money from the public school system. Or maybe I forgot about that. Damn, that's fucked up if that's the case. Jesus. Who did I talked to somebody recently about this. I didn't even consider that part. I don't remember if that was on stream or not. I think.
Yeah,
I did not agree to have my 3-year-old to have people run around and yell at her. And I did talk to you, and I had said, if I talk to you for a few minutes, will you leave my 3-year-old daughter alone? And you said yes. So I'd like you guys to respect it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Why do even like normal type pro-Palestine people never call October 7th a genocide, but always call Gaza a genocide? Because the October 7th thing was one day, and the Gaza deaths are like 10 or 50 times more. Wait. Oh, I've seen stuff about this Zoran dude running for mayor in New York, who's like basically a socialist or whatever. What am I crazy, or does his election stuff look like an A24 advertisement for a movie? Is Ukraine-Russian war a genocide? I mean, Ukraine took Russia to court for it over the abduction of all the children, basically. Do you have any interest in watching that Al Green interview? Maybe. Who's it with? Whoa, Destiny self-awareness moment? Implying that I can't argue both sides of that argument better than any of the retarded pro-pally dipshits you've ever seen online in your entire life? Okay, buddy. Is it this interview, Breakfast Club?
Wait there.
This is ancient news. It was 2 days ago.
Like, what's the...
Watch this.
Jennifer Piggott voted for Trump in the November election. Then in February, she was fired from her civil service job.
Absolutely, I feel a little bit betrayed.
She was among more than 125 people dismissed last month from the Treasury Department.
Whew, I'm going to be honest. Somebody in chat said that you emailed me that book passage. I do remember reading it. And it was funny that you were in chat when you read it. Was that thing from Hitler about propaganda, was that in Mein Kampf, or was that a different book that he'd written? Or was that just like a random thing that like an essay that he'd written? Because, oof, that was a pretty oofers. Hold on. I don't know if he, did Hitler ever write any more books, or was it just that one? Oh, no, it was Mein Kampf, because I checked the citation. It's a little bit fucked up. I'm just going to read like a page out of this book, because it includes his quote, or just like this little section. In My Struggle, which is the English translation of Mein Kampf, Hitler described this as the greatest villainy of the century, the negation of all his hopes, rendering all his sacrifices futile. As he was told the news, so Germans didn't really know that they were losing World War I for a variety of reasons until like the surrender happened. This is one of the reasons why that stab in the back myth that the Jews or somebody betrayed Germany and that's how they lost kind of like became so pervasive, is because Germans weren't really told like how fucked the war effort was until they basically like signed the Treaty of Versailles. And then everybody's like, wait, we lost? What? Excuse me? But a lot of people got really mind fucked by that one. As he was told the news, everything went black before my eyes. He tottered back, this is about Hitler, he tottered back to his dormitory and wept. There was no reason to doubt that it was a terrible trauma for him. The memory of 1918 was to play a central role in all his subsequent thought and action. How had the disaster happened? Searching for an explanation, Hitler seized eagerly on the rapidly spreading story of the stab in the back. The Jews, whom he had already regarded with suspicion and distaste, must have been to blame, he thought. All the inchoate and confused ideas and prejudices he had so far garnered from Schoner, Luger, Wagner, and the rest now suddenly fell into a coherent, neat, and utterly paranoid pattern. Once more, he looked to propaganda as the prime political mover. Enemy war propaganda, undermining Germany's will from without, and Jewish socialist propaganda, spreading doubt and defeatism from within. Propaganda, he learned, from contemplating the disaster, must always be directed at the masses. And then I think these are quotes from Mein Kampf. All propaganda must be popular, and its intellectual level must be adjusted to the most limited intelligence among those it is addressed to. Consequently, the greater the mass it is intended to reach, the lower its purely intellectual level will have to be. The receptivity of the great masses is very limited. Their intelligence is small, but their power of forgetting is enormous. In consequence of these facts, all effective propaganda must be limited to a very few points and must harp on these in slogans until the last member of your public understands what you want him to understand by your slogan. And it had to appeal to the emotions rather than to reason because the people, in their overwhelming majority, are so feminine by nature and attitude that sober reasoning determines their thoughts and actions far less than emotion and feeling. Finally, propaganda had to be continuous and unvarying in its message. It should never admit a glimmer of doubt in its own claims or concede the tiniest element of right in the claims of the other side. Armed with these thoughts, or perhaps earlier, more rudimentary versions of them, Hitler obeyed a superior officer's orders and went along to the political instruction courses in June 1919, blah, blah, blah. But, okay, then he goes to Munich to become based. It's an interesting take on propaganda. Maybe not super novel. Maybe in 1920 it was super novel, in 1919, but...
Department's bureau
A little bit betrayed.
She was among more than 125 people dismissed last month from the Treasury Department's Bureau of Fiscal Service in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
There's always that back and forth conversation now. It's like, you knew this was coming, but we didn't. Like, nobody that I've talked to understood the devastation that having this administration in office would do to our lives.
No kings, no tyrants, no kings, no tyrants.
The cuts have shaken up a community that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. He won West Virginia with 70% of the vote.
Did any of your MAGA Nazi comparison views change since reading the book? So one thing you have to be careful of is it's very easy to retrofit anything from a political group you don't like into Nazi stuff, right? So you could say things like make America great again, drill baby drill, like these things are, these are like, it's like that propaganda technique. But you could also argue that things like defund the police, or I'm sure there are other left-wing, like leftist bullshit, whatever things like that can, you can make those fit as well, you know? Although I would argue the right is better at the sloganeering because make America great again, that's all you need. But if somebody says defund the police, you have to give them like 12 paragraphs to explain what the fuck is actually going on. The most interesting analysis that I think has kind of strengthened an idea that I've had in this book is how few or how little the support was, like once it dropped below 50% of all the political parties in the German Republic, of how the support started to fall for the idea of the Republic, the actual like democratic system. And regardless if people were on the left or regardless if people were on the right, one important thing that you should track is how much do people support the system at all? Because as you have fewer and fewer people willing to defend the system at all, and people are more willing to destroy the system, then you run into huge issues. Whether it goes communist or fascist or whatever afterwards, who knows? But you have to have like stalwarts of your system who are willing to defend the idea of parliamentary democracy in the case of the German Republic, or our federal democratic constitutional republic, whatever the fuck you call it in the United States, you know. Sloganeering isn't inherently bad, or do you think it's just always dangerous? I mean, sloganeering is not inherently bad. I would just argue it's bad when it's aimed at bad policies, yeah. But
overwhelmingly voted.
No kings, no tyrants.
The cuts have shaken up a community that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. He won West Virginia with 70% of the vote.
Wait, I'm so sorry, fuck. Okay, one more thing and then we'll watch the rest of this. Bro, my personal conspiracy is that Putin thinks it's based that they beat the Germans, and he's like, damn, you failed, but I could def succeed, XDDD. Well, I think Putin, is taken by a similar thing that Hitler was, but again, there's a lot of similarities between a lot of people, so you can't just say like, oh, they're Hitler. But I think one of Hitler's, like, I guess worst feelings or traumas was the defeat of Germany in World War I and the collapse of any concept of, forget any pan-German shit, but like even the German Empire, right, was completely fucked after World War I. And for Putin, I believe, didn't Putin say that the biggest geopolitical catastrophe of the last century was the collapse of the Soviet Union? So for Putin, he has that similar trauma probably with seeing, and he's old enough too, right? And I think he's always had like jobs in government or in politics, right? In government and politics. Was he ex-KGB? My mom used to always say that, but I don't know if that's true or not. Oh yeah, okay, he was, yeah. So he's always had jobs in government or in military or whatever. And so he lived through like Soviet Union and watched the Soviet Union collapse. And there's a lot to be said about, careful, My history is not the greatest here, but there's a lot to be said about how tumultuous it was between, I think, like 1988 and like 1995 for the Soviet Union into Russia, where there were some pretty abrupt or dramatic changes in direction that I think a lot of Soviets and then Russians felt betrayed by. So, for instance, I believe Gorbachev was really big on, okay, communism or socialism, whatever the fuck doesn't work, we're going to liberalize like crazy. And I believe there were people in the Soviets that hated Gorbachev for that. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? This is your what are we going to turn into America too? And then after the collapse of the Soviet Union, I believe there were a lot of people that felt that leaders like Yeltsin basically betrayed the country and allowed capitalist, bourgeois, oligarchs to basically seize everything in Russia proper, to take over the country, that it became like this big capitalist buyout of the country that was supposed to be, the socialist Soviet Union. So I'm sure there's like a lot of mindfucky feelings that a person like Putin carries with him even to this day. I don't know what truly exists in his heart, I guess, but I do know that he has said that like the Soviet Union collapse is like one of the greatest horrible things of like the 20th century. So, but yeah, I don't know. Look at how Putin treated the death of Gorbachev. Putin claims that he resigned with the rank of lieutenant colonel on August 20th, 1991, on the second day of the 91 Soviet coup d'etat attempt against Soviet President Putin said, "As soon as the coup began, I immediately decided which side I was on." What, against him? Against Gorbachev? Or I have no idea. I'm guessing he was against Gorbachev. Putin made his money stealing off the Russian state. For example, he was mayor of St. Petersburg and stole 100 million that was earmarked for raw materials to be traded for food. So maybe, yeah, but this is a very much a vibe feeling. I don't know if a person like Putin is driven by acquisition of wealth or personal like enrichment. I think Putin is very ideologically driven. I think he's very, very, very ideologically driven. And I think that's true to a large extent even of a lot of the kind of like the big US billionaire people that are leading right now. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm overplaying my own personal experience now being kind of wealthy, that like after a point, like just getting more money doesn't help. I'm not a billionaire, obviously. My net worth is like less than, I think, $400 million. But like I think like Trump is a man who's ideologically possessed. I think wealth is important and getting more wealth is nice, but like in Elon Musk as well, I think these are ideologically possessed people where wealth is just a factor in what they do. It's not the primary driving force. Yeltsin proclaimed the Russian Republic and the period of national humiliation forever held his worldview in a feeling of wanting national reclamation. Okay. Oh, Tuck Fwitch, it was you, yeah. I'm behind in the VOD, but it was me. I am the guy that emailed you the Hitler book passage because I know every paragraph ever written, and after watching the stream 8 hours a day for 10 years, I can see through the matrix of your mind and know what will confirm your priors. Okay. What do you know about the great days of the USSR? Not too much, other than it wasn't nearly as great as lefties try to make it out to be, and it probably wasn't quite as bad as people on the right make it out to be, but it didn't seem to be that great. What would you be doing if you were Putin? I can't speak to it because I don't understand the domestic situation inside of Russia whatsoever. So I wouldn't be able to say. I can't believe the U.S. wasn't able to bully Russia out of Ukraine, though. If we would have been more united, I feel like we could have done it. That Prigorski, I always fuck his name up. The Wagner coup against Putin that had him fleeing Moscow, it was wild. But nobody seized on anything. There was nothing to be done, I guess. Like, how early in the war did that happen? Fuck, that's so annoying. Whatever. Prigozhin? Is that his name? So why does Putin long for those days? One of the feelings I've picked up in reading history is throughout history there are a lot of these empires, and sometimes the empire falls, but the people don't feel like the empire has fallen, or they feel like there's a way they can fight to get it back. So it seems like we haven't gotten to World War II yet, but it seems like that was the feeling in Germany, that Germans longed for and even had a false understanding of what the Bismarckian, the Wilhelmine, the Kaisers, what that empire looked like prior to World War I, and that after World War I, they longed for those days. And if you end up, there's something that happens, I'm sure there's been a lot of writing on it, where a people can lose a war, but they still have in their mind this idea of, but we're really this great, we can do this, we can get back to there. And sometimes I feel like Putin, I don't know if the average Russian has it, but I think that Putin sees that for Russia, that Russia is still a great superpower. We still do live in a multipolar world, and Russia can exert a ton of influence on the planet. And they might be like kind of downtrodden right now, but this is just a blip on the history of the Russian Empire, of the former Soviet Union, future Soviet Union, and they can come back, and they will come back, and they'll make it, The same reason why Turkey is heavily influence peddling in a bunch of other countries today. Oh, maybe. I don't know how Turkey views itself in terms of that. I don't know if Turkey ever has a desire to rule over Arabs again, or if that would even be a thing. I don't know anything about Turkey. I was just going to say some retarded shit because I have no idea. My vibe would be that Turkey's probably happy after, I think they revolted after all the territory got cut up in like 1918. Didn't they have like their own little revolution and they like, this is our country for real. Fuck out of here. No mandates for us. We're Turkey. Fuck you. They're doing it right in Syria. Yeah, but I don't know how much, I don't know. When I say I don't know, I legitimately don't know. How much of their activity in Syria is legitimately driven by them wanting to rule Arabs again, like they did as the Ottoman Empire, or how much of that is just driven by them wanting to really fuck up any Kurds and keep them at bay and just like kind of expand some kind of, like do they really have that idea? I don't know. Maybe they do. 2 people in chat said yes, so. Not rule over, but just become a power player in the region. Oh, okay, maybe. I don't know where Turkey stands with everything. It seems like they're kind of... They just seem like a weird third player, because I think Turkey really doesn't like Israel. I don't know how they feel about like the Saudis and stuff, but they also really don't like Russia. Turkey really doesn't like Russia. I don't think they liked that Syrian... like Assad, because I want to say Turkey was like the #1 consumer of fucking ISIS gas. As soon as you got a truck, your whole life's mission, if you lived in northern Syria, was to just basically drive gas from ISIS to fucking Turkey and sell it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. They do like Russian tourists. I mean, they didn't like the 2 Russian tourists at the planes. Turkey has like state-of-the-art millimeter measuring exactly where the fucking borders are. And if Russian planes ever cross it, they've got like hypersonic fucking Mach 12 missiles. It's like, fuck, there's the Russian. His wing was in our airspace. Take it the fuck down. Blow him up. Then they shot down 2 planes, I think, over it was like 10 years ago, I think, right? But they shot them down. I mean, was it quite 10 years ago? And everybody was like, bro, World War III. And Turkey was like... Then tell Russia to get the fuck out of my airspace. They didn't give a fuck. Also, I'm pretty sure Turkey was selling a lot of the advanced weaponry to Ukraine that was helping them fight in the Donbass as well. I don't remember if they were cruise missiles or like advanced drones before Ukraine started to manufacture more of their own. But it was in 2015. Okay, yeah. Turkey just seems kind of crazy to me. I don't know. I don't understand. And then like every now and then they just have like kind of a military coup and then everything like goes back to normal. I guess when their president is kind of a little bit too crazy. I don't know. Turkey seems very wild to me. I'm not sure. I don't know, man. And Turkish people are very funny too. Turkish people are like the gay beauty people. They're like the most beautiful people in the fucking world. It's insane. Like the joke is like if you're in America, like if you need like hair transplant surgery and shit, you're flying to Turkey, you're gonna do it. Or if you're in the United States, you need a good barber, you look for a Turkish barber, and that dude's gonna fucking, you sit down and they've got like fucking football on and some crazy Berlin Euro dance music, and they're gonna fucking rock your shit. And then Turkish people, I didn't meet too many of them, but in Germany and Sweden at least, Turkish people in Germany and Sweden are funny. Because you talk to a Turkish person, it's like, yo, how do you feel about like Turkey and like Europe and stuff? And like, oh, bro, like Europe is awesome and it's so cool and like, you know, like yeah, Turkey, you know, Turkey's kind of crazy. And then if you like get them in like a corner, like, what do you actually think? And it's like, fuck this place. Turkey is the fucking king of the world. Turkey's the best fucking country on the planet. I would kill all you motherfuckers. I love Turkey. Turkey's the best fucking place. Oh, I fucking love my country. Fuck you guys. And it's like, jam, chill, bro. What? He's like, bro. I don't know. I like Turkish people. I think it's funny. But maybe also because they're kind of, I don't want to say harmless because it's like insulting. Does Turkey have nuclear weapons or am I making that up? Which countries have nuclear weapons? Do they used to? Why do I feel like something, why am I thinking of Turkey here? Do we have nuclear weapons in Turkey? Maybe I was just thinking of Turkey in terms of when people talk about bombing Moscow or firing into Russia, I'm just thinking of like NATO doing it from Turkey. But NATO stored them in Turkey? Okay, maybe that was fine, I don't remember. Russia has no problem with the only NATO country, and it's Turkey. With only one NATO country? Okay, I don't know how true that is, but... Destiny, nah, that's Lebanese people, man. They're hot, they sound good as fuck. They have the hottest accent. Their accent's probably shaped and built the Arab pop scene. They're very known to be the hottest people in the MENA region. And they're probably the most chill/westernized. I feel like for Lebanese people, though, bro, this is like the most uneducated American take. It's not like I've spent a ton of time in Europe, but I feel like Lebanese people are like, when you say somebody is like from Lebanon, you have to be like, hold on. Are they like from like Lebanon or are they like from Beirut? Because it feels like Beirut is this like very like international, like sexy, hip. There's like a lot of shit that comes like in and out. And then you've got like outside of Beirut, it's like, okay, now we're like in a Middle Eastern country. But Beirut is like, I don't want to say like this mini Singapore of the Middle East. I don't think I can even say that. But I've had people date me that I like know from Beirut and shit. And it feels like very different. Like if you're from like the city and you're like part of that scene versus just like outside of the city, it feels like very different places. But Destiny, this is the same with most countries. Are you from the UK or from London? Maybe, but I feel like the difference is quite a bit more stark. Keep in mind, Lebanon, half the country is fucking owned by Hezbollah. Well, I don't know how much is owned by them anymore. Fuck, dude. That, I think, was Dan the one that suggested the idea? What was that movie? Was it called War Dogs?
Frankly, we were Sirs.
They need a fucking movie like this. With fucking Jonah Hill. With some... It can be like half true, half not true. With some like two Jewish fucking American dudes who are like, let's get into the pager business. Some people could use these. And somehow they end up being the guys that sell like pagers to fucking Hezbollah. The fact that they turned a profit on that whole operation, holy fuck. That's such a... That whole thing was so fucking wild. Oh my God. Jesus. And then the walkie-talkies afterwards? Bro. They obviously didn't turn a profit. Why do you say that? They said they did, didn't they? Or am I falling for propaganda there? Is that Israeli propaganda or would that be anti-Semitic propaganda? I have no idea. Bro, also, here's another thing, okay? I feel like Nazis online are just so good at memes, dude. I think my Instagram reel feed is starting to turn a little bit too Nazi, but just their memes are just so good. I can't... I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to not like them? What do you want me to say? Profit on explosives and pagers? I mean, I don't think they were ultra sophisticated or anything. It's not like these explosives were like multi-stage charge crazy things or whatever. I thought they were just like mini detonators tied to some fucking chemical that blows up when you overheat it or some bullshit, no? I saw you liking one the other day that's fucked up. What was it? I'm gonna turn my whole Instagram audience into fucking Nazis. Fuck. Thoughts on Albanians? Honest to God, I literally only think of Albanians as sex traffickers. Not because of them at all, but just because I saw the movie Taken, and that's my only perspective on them. I'm sorry. I'm sure they're good people otherwise, but... Aren't lithium batteries already explosive? I don't know. I feel like it would be really hard to turn a lithium battery into an explosive, because in order to make it explode, don't you have to puncture it? Which probably takes a decent amount of like a kinetic charge or something. Or maybe not. Maybe you just blow one up. I don't know if it would explode violently or not. I have no idea. They don't seem like they release a lot of energy at once when they malfunction or when they get punctured, but that might just be because it's a small hole. I don't know. Maybe if you blow it up, maybe it does go crazy. Do you have a source on them making a profit? I don't fucking Google it. Don't ask me. Damn. That's what I read. But if you can't find it very easily, then it's probably not true. Dumbbell crushes smartphone. Ooh, no, his phone. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is how I usually see them fuck up. I think Aaron tried to replace my battery or my screen in a smartphone, or was it a PSP or something? And I think she accidentally punctured it, and the whole room was like filled with whatever the fuck gas it releases, but...
has to tip towards an actual revolution.
Have you seen how much the middle class in Nordic countries gets taxed? Would the American population ever vote for that? I don't know, but we need to widen our tax base. Paying more taxes is not necessarily bad if you're getting something for it. Like, it's not like having a fuck ton of money. Like, you can't be of the mind where you're like, oh, what? You want to grow the GDP so we can have better iPhones? And then at the same time be like, I don't want to pay so much in taxes. Why? What are you trying to buy? A better iPhone? Like, as long as you're getting something for your money, I don't think paying taxes is necessarily... I don't think it feels as bad. I feel like in the United States it feels kind of bad because it's hard to see sometimes what we get for any of our money. That's how I felt in California, at least. Jesus. Destiny, I've been looking for a source saying that Trump stopped the border bill that was supposed to fix the asylum process. Then you're not looking very hard, because I remember watching Cruz and I think McConnell and Lankford all speak about it. Like, they literally, it was Lankford's bill. I think he expressed his frustration with it. Like, okay, wait. How do I... On the desktop version of Instagram, can I see my history of likes or no? Or do I have to go to the fucking phone? You can click more. Settings, activity, likes. On the desktop, not on the not on my phone. I know I can see it on my phone. More is on the bottom left. Oh shit. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I forget sometimes the year that I'm in. And in 2025, websites will completely change based on how large the window is, and sometimes they will delete things from the website. My bad. Thank you. Okay. Why does America not invest in some good train networks that can go across the continent? It seems so much more comfortable than to drive anywhere. I think it's a combination of two things, and I can't tell you which one factors more into it. One thing is it's a large country, so the infrastructure is just hard to build because of all the red tape. I think like half of that answer was bullshit. I don't know why. Because, I mean, we fly planes, so we really can't build train tracks. And a lot of it is just empty space anyway, right? And then the second thing is, I think Americans tend to associate in our minds, we associate public transit with poor people and homeless people. Like, if you're a successful person, you're never taking the subway or the train because that's for poors and losers. That's just a very American association. So the railroads were already built, LOL. I don't know if we can use like the same tracks as the whatever commercial rail freight stuff is. Like, I don't know if newer trains that go faster have to be built to a different spec to make sure that the track can handle the speed, or I have no idea. I don't know anything about like railroad construction or anything like that. Like in Europe, I don't know if freight is moved along the same rail lines as like customer stuff. Passenger stuff, I should say. Fuck, hold on, I'm trying to find. Why did I like so many of these? There's no way I watched like 100 reels last night. Okay, maybe I did. Fuck. Okay, well. Oh shit. I haven't seen this one, but I get a lot of like office work reels now too. This shit like this. Driving 45 minutes to the office so I can send emails and be on team calls with people in the offices next to me. Based. Weren't you guys against using things like TikTok? Why are you into Reels now? Because it's part of my job to interact on social media and to understand what the youth of our day are consuming. Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm not going to do this all day. Sorry.
My favorite day of the week, New Music Tuesday. Yo. What's up? New Music Tuesday? Yep, I'm getting ready to head down to the Best Buy and check out that new Jay-Z CD right now. You want to roll with? Yeah, man, I'm down. That new Nickelback band just dropped an album today, too. I never heard of no Nickelback, but we could check it out if they got it. Let me see what the weather's looking like.
This Devin's.
Okay, none of this. Jesus Christ. All right. What is this? Can you please scroll through Reels one time on stream? You're like the only streamer ever to never do it. Maybe someday. Theo is so fucking funny because he will be like kicking it with Trump one week. The next week he's sitting with a sun piker saying shit like this.
Revolution. It has to tip towards an actual revolution where people pick up. And I don't know if we can say this or not, but
I say it all the time. People call me radical for that.
Really? Oh, I'm a big revolution guy. I've always had little dreams of like or semi-revolutions or like regional or whatever at least. I hope at least I can make it to the regional revolution. Like, I understand if I don't make it to the national one, but I want to be on a horseback or at least on a fucking standing next to a count or one of the... It has to tip towards an actual...
Okay. The issue is that, or what's happening here is, when most people think revolution is just like an overthrowing of the system. I'm pretty sure, though, in ML and Marxist-Leninist dialogue, revolution always refers to socialist revolution or revolution of the proletariat. So when Hassan says he's in favor of a revolution, and Theo says he's in favor of revolution, these guys are talking about two different things. But... why is Hassan talking to this guy? Isn't he way more far right than Destiny, who he hates? Yeah, but it's clout. It's good too. Also, Hassan needs to branch out more. Maybe he's finally starting to do it. Or I mean, it's good for his career. Obviously, I hope he doesn't and continues to self-sabotage. But do you really think Hassan is that knowledgeable at ML? Knowledgeable enough to know the vocabulary and to do the propaganda and everything? Yeah, for sure. At least as to wear it as an aesthetic or lightly intellectually don it. Yeah. To cap credit card interest rates at 10%. Fuck yeah. We didn't finish the Twitter video? Oh shit, you're right. I'm sorry. Okay, we got too sidetracked. Okay, back to the beginning of this.
Jennifer Piggott voted for Trump in the November election. Then in February, she was fired from her civil service job.
Absolutely, I feel a little bit betrayed.
She was among more than 125 people dismissed last month from the Treasury Department's Bureau of Fiscal Service in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
There's always that back and forth conversation now. It's like, you knew this was coming, but we didn't. Like, nobody that I've talked to understood the devastation that having this administration in office would do to our lives.
No kings, no tyrants, no kings, no tyrants.
The cuts have shaken up a community that overwhelmingly voted for Trump. He won West Virginia with 70% of the vote, one of his biggest victories. But the betrayal felt by Piggott, a church-going conservative and three-time Trump voter, comes as political analysts are examining early signs of a possible backlash in Republican strongholds like Parkersburg, where the government-slashing efforts of Trump and DOGE are beginning to hit home.
Elon Musk has basically taken over our government.
One thing that I think Kara brings this up, Kara Swisher, I think, brought this up on a show, and I actually think I agree with this. I don't believe that MAGA loves Elon Musk. MAGA loves Elon Musk as an extension of Trump's agenda. But I think Elon is probably in a pretty precarious position because if Elon is not liked by Trump, Elon has no chance of carrying anything on his own. I guess if you're like an incel or a nerd, I'm quickly becoming an incel in my life, by the way, so I can relate. There's like this phenomenon where nerdy guys, I guess like if they're endorsed by like the Chad alpha male, can be kind of endearing. But if they're like ousted from the group, they're going to be the most repulsive, disgusting people in the world. And I don't think that, like, Elon Musk has probably some of the worst stage presence that I've ever seen in a person before. He's not funny. He's not endearing. He's not like quirky, charming in a nerd way. Maybe 10 years ago, I feel like he kind of was a bit more when he was a little bit more, I wouldn't say self-aware, but more like kind of like nerdy autistic. Whereas now he's got like a much larger ego and is a little bit more like grandiose about himself. If Trump were to cut Elon off from his influence, I think Elon would sink incredibly fast with this crowd. But we'll see.
Home.
Elon Musk has basically taken over our government and has calling the shots, unfortunately, it seems to be.
Oof. A handful of Republican voters who lost their federal jobs joined Democrats at a recent anti-DOGE protest near the Bureau of Fiscal Service offices in Parkersburg. But the federal job losses in the state could soon extend beyond the BFS building, says West Virginia University economics professor John Deskins.
West Virginia is at the very top of the states in terms of the federal workforce as a share of total workforce in the state.
Is there really anyone that Trump would turn on and his supporters would keep liking them? I mean, to varying degrees, kind of, but I mean, no. Like, if Trump turns on somebody, probably everybody's going to start to fucking hate you. But maybe not hate, but I think Elon would be pretty hated, I think. Especially because if Trump turns on Elon, it's because he needs to scapegoat Elon. Like, here's what I'll say, and I wasn't following politics, I guess, as closely like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, but my parents loved McCarthy. They just loved McCarthy was like the guy. And I remember when I asked Mom after the whole House fiasco and them losing their seat and all that bullshit, and I asked Mom, yeah, what do you think about McCarthy? You remember him? And she said, like, it was one sentence. She's like, McCarthy? That guy's a rhino. No good. And I was like, Jesus. Wait, that's the same guy that you loved like a year earlier, right? The fuck? Or wait, McCarthy? Wait, am I getting gaslit by chat? McCarthy, fuck you. Don't gaslight me. Marco and Elon clash. Yeah, we read that article yesterday.
Of the federal workforce as a share of total workforce in the state. So if the federal layoffs happen, if they hit West Virginia, we stand to suffer a disproportionate share when those jobs disappear, when that income disappears, when that spending leaves the state economy.
But in Reuters interviews with 36 workers, business owners, and politicians in Parkersburg, nearly all said that Trump's focus on cutting government spending was a worthy goal. And Reuters Ipsos polling shows Americans' attitude toward Trump are so far essentially unchanged since he began firing federal workers in February. As of this week, his approval rating was holding steady at 44%.
Cutting costs and waste and fraud and. We love that big picture. I love that big picture. My friends, we were excited about that because it is true. But again, I can't help but go back to the fact that what is the decisions that you're making right now solving in the big picture? It just... So the concept of voting for that again, voting for Elon Musk essentially to wreck people's lives, I can't do it.
The economic impact of the mass dismissals across America may not be immediately felt. So far, 100,000 government workers have been fired or taken a buyout.
How did Trump scapegoat McCarthy? Well, didn't McCarthy basically get blamed? And I mean, there was some blame to share, to be fair, over the whole not being able to hold on to the house. Oh, no, wait. Wasn't it that McCarthy tried to work with the Democrats to create a budget or something to keep the government from shutting down? And because he was willing to listen to Democrats, somebody called a vote of no confidence, and that's when they lost their majority speaker position, and that's when that whole fucking fiasco happened a few years ago. I think that's why they hated McCarthy, is because he was trying to work with the Democrats, the evil Dems.
Parkersburg is bracing for another round of layoffs, with all government agencies ordered to make plans to cut career staff by March 13th.
What does that sign say? $1 TSP divest. What's that in reference to? Tesla, SpaceX, penis. Oh, PayPal? Wait, is it? What does it mean? TSP equal the government's 401k. Okay. Somebody said, it feels like Elon and Trump are in this weird situation where if Elon loses all of his wealth from his bad rep and a falling out with Trump, then he loses Twitter, and that's bad for Trump. But if Elon stays, it's also probably bad for Trump. I mean, Trump has already cut back significantly on DOGE and Elon's power, right? An official, the least in person, an official was announced as the administrator for DOGE. That's not Elon Musk. And now Trump has, like we see, there's been so much reporting on it as true. And he might have even said it publicly. Now DOGE's, their job has been scaled back significantly to just making recommendations and working with department heads to make cutbacks potentially, right? He said, we're going to use a scalpel now instead of a sledgehammer or whatever, instead of a hammer or a hatchet. I don't know what it is, but so we've already seen that DOGE's responsibilities are getting cut back quite a bit. And it was supposed to be, was it a 1.5-year mission initially? He said it was going to go for 1.5 years. And now about 2 months in, we see the job thing scaling back quite a bit. And then supposedly there was a big clash during a cabinet meeting between Rubio and Elon, where it seems like Trump was kind of on Elon's, or not Elon's side, where Trump was kind of on Rubio's side, I think, or was trying to like placate Rubio, I guess. I don't know. During Trump's speech in Congress, he said that Musk was in charge of DOGE, though. Yeah, he said it, but Trump is an idiot. He doesn't know anything how government works. But like on paper, like they've got an administrator now who's not Musk. Yeah. I will say Twitter must be bleeding a fuck ton of money for Elon, is my guess. That Twitter has to be bleeding so much cash. I'm so curious if we'll ever see financials from that company again. Somebody asked, if the U.S. empire falls, what do you think will be the next great empire to rise? Yo mama. I have no clue. My gut tells me that Europe can't do it right now, even though they're trying to. I feel like there is so much rich history and division between the European peoples of all the different countries. And I mean, with the UK having Brexited already, with I don't know. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I truly super hope I'm wrong. But who in Europe, like, is all of Europe ready to get behind? It feels like France right now is the country making the strongest statements about it. Like, is Germany, Italy, Spain, like, are they all ready to follow French leadership? I don't know. And that might not even be true inside the, maybe this is just what I see from Macron making statements. I mean, other leaders have made statements as well. I just don't follow European news as much. I don't know. As a Euro cuck, there is definitely more of a united vibe than I felt before, but I don't know if it's something larger. Well, there's a united vibe between Europeans now because you've got the United States to hate. But if it was the case that the EU and America finally did have our great divorce, are you now it's going to be the European countries looking to each other, vying for power, influence, and then I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe the history now of a kind of a relatively peaceful Europe has been long enough that people's ideas of kind of the pre-World War II era of Europe, maybe those feelings don't exist as much anymore because those generations are all kind of gone and dead. I have no idea. I truly don't know. I'm saying I don't know. I don't know what the average European sentiment is. I don't know. Destiny. Take back. Putin is ideologically driven. He got to where he is because he's one of the many power-addicted risk takers. He lies. His decisions cause children to suffer. And you think he lays in bed at night thinking about X amount of square kilometers? A society of 100 million is complex enough that in order to stay on top, you need to expertly manage your incentives.